We are activating your unique self-discovery one show at a time. The Orchard of Wisdom Self-Discovery podcast at your fingertips, just waiting to inspire and invite you in discovering just how awesome you really are and how to navigate through life in joy, enrichment, personal abundance, in mind, body, spirit, heart, and soul. All the people we bring you are here to serve you on your journey of life. Do enjoy our next show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and all the way from Honduras is Anne Fowler, our guest today. And we're going to be talking about her book. I've Worn Many, Many Hats. It's a memoir. And we're also going to be talking about the foundation that she started and her passion for life. She's in Honduras right now. She lives there 6 months of the year. Lucky girl. But it does mean that we're having a bit of internet problem today. So bear with us if you feel that there's a little overlap or a little drop. Just stay with us. The content is going to be good, I promise. So she is somewhat retired. She thinks that laughter, sadness, empathy, courage is very important. She's Canadian. And she appears to have it all. However, life is not always idyllic as it seems. And at the age of 20, a series of events almost destroyed her. Emerging from the wreckage, she reinvented herself, started over, and proceeded, sorry, got a pee-pee problem today, proceeded to live on the edge with risk-taking lifestyle. Then, in 1993, an event experienced during a trip to Central America changed everything. I've Worn Many Hats is an inspirational read that demonstrates our human frailties, one's ability to survive personal adversity, and how we can learn to forgive both ourselves and others. It's a story of redemption. And we're going to be talking about that memoir today. We're going to be talking about her foundation that she has in Honduras and all about her life. So stay with us, even if we do have a few hiccups here, folks, because it's worth listening to. Welcome to the show, Anne.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you very much for inviting me. I will enjoy this. Nobody can complain about talking about themselves, so I mean, hey, perfect.
I think what people, are beginning to learn, especially through podcasting, is that we learn so much about ourselves through other people's stories. And the relatability, or you feel like that too, or how did you get through that experience? I'm going through it.
Right.
So our stories are really, really important in helping other people on their life's journey.
Exactly. I've not done many podcasts. I've done a few, but it's totally new to me to do it. But when you're talking about our journey helps other people, that was a unexpected benefit of my book that I found, because I'm getting people responding to me and saying, I read your book and this is what happened to me, and they tell you your story, and you're right. It's sharing. It's really good.
I think one of the biggest problems in life is sometimes we don't know how to navigate. Something happens to us and we think it's only happening to us. And then you've heard that something similar has happened to someone else. And it's not about competition or comparison. It's about understanding that you have the empathy, you understand the pain that we're going through, but this is what came out of it. We can't stop what happens to us, but we can choose how we make it happen for us, what we can learn from it.
That's right.
We can grow from it.
Right. Well, I've always said that we make our life, our lives and ourselves are made up of the decisions we've made in life. Mm-hmm. And I think that those decisions really direct what we're going to do with our life, but it also depends on how you accept it, what path you follow. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes a big difference. So I agree with you totally.
Nobody gets through life unscathed. We've all had some wonderful trips along the way, sometimes Grand Canyons, it's, but it's how we learn from it, who we become because of it.
Exactly.
And you said you were really carefree in your 20s. You were living in Toronto, and that life was seemingly going in the right direction.
Well, you know, I grew up in a typical 1940s family. I'm an only child, and I did all the things one does in high school, and with all the usual drama. Went into nursing, like most girls did in my class, and then something happened to me, and it was how I dealt with that and what the results were of it that really changed how I behaved in life, which was pretty irresponsible, to be honest with you. And some of the problems and things I got into, which I go into in the book, but yeah, there can be a life-changing moment. And what happened to me, of course, is I was raped. And the rape produced a pregnancy, which produced an abortion, which produced a suicide attempt, which produced getting out of nursing, going to a mental hospital, which ultimately led me to joining American Airlines and becoming a flight attendant. Aren't you happy to hear that about the flight attendants?
One doesn't think, oh, you know, suicide attempt, now I'm going to go be a flight attendant. Exactly. You know, maybe the suicide thoughts were still there.
Exactly. Yeah, no. So, you know, so that worked out well, but then how can I put this? Carefree, you said carefree, you're right, without regard for rules and regulations. That's just kind of the way I was living. And that's not a good way to live, you know.
No, I've been a victim of rape myself. It didn't produce a child, thank goodness, but it makes you question, first and foremost, did I ask for it? You know, and you feel guilty, exactly. Right? And then it's, did I deserve it?
But that's our age group.
Yes.
That's our generation, my generation, which is older than yours. I'm 82.
Okay. Not quite
but
there yet.
We all felt, okay, well, you're a lot younger. But we all felt at that time that, well, it's my fault.
Yes.
It's my fault. You're embarrassed. It's my fault. I can't tell anybody. Whereas what I was finding in the responses I was getting, as I said, an unexpected response I was getting to the book, were younger women talking about their rape and how they dealt with it. Totally different. Totally different. I mean, they didn't feel guilty. It wasn't my fault. You know, I didn't do it.
Right.
You know,
nobody asks for rape. Nobody goes out there saying, you know, rape me. No, it is, you are a victim of it, but you continue to victimize yourself with shame and blame.
Yes.
And self-blame.
Right.
So, yeah.
Blame, shame game. Yep. Shame, blame game. Yeah, absolutely. So it was, so I'm not sure if you want me to tell you what happened to change things, or are we on something else?
Yes, that was the issue. How did you come through it?
Yeah. Well, it was at the bottom of the issues. I had a lot more issues than that, but it was at the bottom, and things changed. As I said, I think that the decisions you make in your life determine who you are, and then how you use those decisions, that results in the path you take. So what happened that changed me drastically was in 1993. My family doctor said to me, you know, we're going to Honduras. He was medical director of a mission group, a medical mission group, 2-week medical mission group. Why don't you come with us? You know, you'll love it. You liked camp. It's like going to a poor summer camp, you know? So I went, and that was it. I was hooked. And what happened to change my life, I think, and the path I was taking, was the women all slept in one room. We were sleeping on the floor in sleeping bags. And one night, in the middle of the night, I thought I heard somebody calling my name. And I sat up, looked around, Nobody else was awake, and I heard it again. And I have to tell you, there was no question in my mind that God was speaking to me.
Mm-hmm.
And all he said was, your life is going to change. You're going to go down a different path, period. End of story. And I had absolutely no question in my mind that this was reality. I mean, I was brought up in the church, but I mean, I wasn't a Bible thumper. I was, went to Sunday school and stuff like that. But my first husband was a minister, for heaven's sakes, you know. But another story. Anyhow.
Another chapter.
Well, yeah, 2 husbands, right? 2 husbands I had. But there was no doubt in my mind what I was being led to do. And so when I went home, I almost didn't tell anybody because I was sort of embarrassed, you know, what am I going to say? You know, they know this isn't me. This is Anne, who owns a company, drives a Lincoln, wears fur coats, the whole bit. And she's going to give up her life and go to Honduras.
Mm-hmm.
So but that became the ultimate plan. That was in 93. And I retired in 2000, sold my company, and came to Honduras for 6 months of the year and stayed in Canada for 6 months at my cottage. So it was, I drove everybody crazy for 7 years, you know. Well, it's only 6 years, 3 days, and 4 hours until I retire. But it ultimately it came, and I came to Honduras, and I didn't know what I was going to be doing. I had been associated with an eye and dental clinic for the poor through my mission work that I had been going on, because they were running it. And I'd been on a couple of brigades in the 7 years in the interim. And so anyhow, I didn't know what I was going to be doing. And I knew I couldn't really figure that out till I got down there. But there I was, and it gradually became clear what was needed. And so without going into a whole lot of stuff, I started developing programs for the community. A lot of children's programs, and did some changes in the administration of the clinic. And this was supposed to be a 5-year plan. I was only going to be there 5 years, but ultimately I made the decision, no, this is where I'm going to be. And I bought property up here on the North Coast. I was originally in El Progreso, and now I'm on the North Coast, and in a small village. Built a house, and figured I'd use it for visiting doctors, because I had a visiting doctor program I established in Progreso, education programs for the children, which I had established in Progreso. Brought all of that up here, and then developed more, and the programs just grew and grew, and what we did grew and grew, and that's what I've been doing for the past 20 years. I have slowed down now, of course, needless to say. I've had a lot of help over the years, the people that came to help, and then members of the community and different associations that I've made. But so now I kind of am the orchestra leader. You know, I stand back and direct the orchestra, but everybody else does all the work. And so that's it. And people say, how much longer are you going to be there? And I said, don't know.
Yep,
Carry
it's not
me
up
out.
to you. It's whenever your exit plan is there. Yeah. Yeah. I love people's redirecting.
So kind of.
Sorry, this is where we're having a little problem with the internet, folks, a little overlap. So it's saying, I love the redirect. You know, it's people think that we get on a path and that's the path we're meant to stay, and then that path will lead to this and that. And you've had many, many paths, many chapters in your books where you were air hostess on the airline, then you started your own company, and then Honduras came along, which redirected you again. You haven't been afraid of redirection in your life.
No, no. Um, was I ever afraid of redirection? No.
You're right.
I was always a risk. I was always a risk taker. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is
So
it the wonderment, the kind of, oh, this is exciting, let's give it a try? Or is it I'm bored with what I'm doing right now and I need something new? Or is it just the inquisitiveness that made you redirect to
I think
different
the
direction?
wonderment and the inquisitiveness.
Hmm.
I wasn't bored. I wasn't bored.
Right.
I ran a really successful company, and I loved my business. Um, I loved all the work I did, and I have two children, and so no, it wasn't boredom.
Hmm.
Inquisitiveness probably, and challenge. I think
Yes.
challenge. Going to be a challenge,
Yeah.
and so any of the programs that I've developed down here, it was a question of being a challenge.
Hmm.
Well, we need to do this, or this needs to be done, and so on and so forth. So, um,
And of course, the challenge
and, and
isn't what's needed. It's generally the political arena or the community arena with, rules, regulations, or getting people motivated enough to actually get into action.
exactly. Now, I'm in a very small village. We're a village of 6,000 people, but my programs reach out to the surrounding areas. People now, I mean, it was different 20 years ago. There's been a lot of changes in 20 years. People are now on board with what I'm doing. There's other groups have come in that I'll coordinate with. I think the Honduran people are far behind North America, but when television and the internet came in, they started catching up.
Mm-hmm.
And I see the kids are becoming much more Americanized, Canadianized,
Which maybe
whatever
not a
you
good
want to say.
thing. Yeah.
No. I mean, for example, I remember when I first started coming to Honduras, when I first came to Honduras, and we did brigades out in the mountains and the boonies, I remember fathers would not allow their daughters to wear jeans. They had to wear a dress. Well, nowadays, bare skin, midriffs, the whole bit. I mean, that went out the window.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot, and that's due to television and the media,
The thing about, TV and internet, it opens up to a totally new world. But the trouble is, it also opens up to bad habits and bad attitudes. And, we're seeing this so much as a crisis in North America and around the world right now, where many of the youth have become extremely violent. There was a 6-year-old that shot their teacher.
I saw that. Yes, I saw that.
And then up in Toronto, we had 13-year-olds and 16-year-olds stabbing a man to death in the street. And it's,
I know.
And it's just like, what is happening with the youth? How we're letting them down because they don't seem to have any respect. They don't seem to have any connection. They don't seem to have any purpose. And I think in a lot of ways, the saturation of internet and TV without proper conducting, without proper direction and focus has led them to just not really hone in on anything and be lost.
Well, they've lost the art of just playing outside.
Yes.
I mean, the kids aren't allowed to play outside without a helicopter parent. And or I see it with my young volunteers that come down here. They don't talk to each other. They're too busy on their tablets.
I know.
Nobody see each other anymore. It just drives me nuts. And so I don't know. I had a conversation with some friends about this over the summer when I was home, and maybe we are old-fashioned. I don't know, but we blame it a lot on parenting too. Mm-hmm. Children are entitled now.
Way too
Parents
much.
The children entitled. You didn't bring your kids up like that. I didn't bring my kids up like that. And fortunately, my grandchildren aren't like that. But still, I think that's part of the problem.
They think
They
they're
feel
owed.
entitled.
They think they're owed,
They're
you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep, they do. And they're so busy on their
What we teach them.
tablets or
Yeah.
in arranged activities instead of just playing or talking to their friends that, I don't know how they can have a normal upbringing, So, and you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, the
Yes.
violence is frightening.
There seems to be no kind of depth. Everything's headliners, everything's emoji, and without depth, without content, where's the compass? The compass, the heart and soul is the compass, is the generator, love. And if they don't have love, self-love, or love of life, or love of anything in life, what is the driving force? And we can't have that
Exactly.
connection to love if we're not willing to look beyond the surface. We have to go
Mhm.
deep, and we're not doing our children a service at the present moment with the way that everything has been the entitlement of giving them feeling they're owed and them not having to work for anything. And they think that they're hard done by. That's the sad thing. They think they're hard done by, and they don't realize actually how much opulence they have at their fingertips, and with that, how much responsibility they have. And they've thrown that responsibility right out the door.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. They don't. Was I talking to? Remember when we were kids, or when our kids were growing up, they had an allowance. They were
Yeah.
required to do certain chores, and that way you were. They don't do that anymore.
No.
It seems like no. So responsibility. There just doesn't seem to be any. My son and his wife are both teachers, and in elementary school, so they've got young kids, little kids, and I know Chris deals with this, and Christina, every day,
Yeah.
and they're trying to change that, but it's hard.
It
It's
is.
hard.
Yes. Yes. I know somebody whose daughter right now, where there's a write-up from the school saying she's become a mean girl, and she's become a brat, quite honestly,
Right.
a brat. And if she's 8, so if we don't nip it in the bud now, when they get to teenage years, that's when kind of the violence comes out in them. And so
Will
if we,
really be a mean
yeah,
girl then. Yeah.
yeah,
You know.
yes. So, the beauty of a country that is behind, it's hard, but to see the mistakes that's been done before you and to actually be able to hone in, more of the sense of respect, sense of responsibility, sense of content before they go down the other way.
Yeah. 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 I think you're right. But I don't know all I know is I'm glad I'm not raising children right now.
Yes, I
I'm
have
glad I'm not raising
grandchildren,
children
and
right now.
and unfortunately the parents are both extremely hands-on.
My,
They
my my kids are hands-on with their grandchildren, my grandchildren too.
Yeah, being both put them to
Well,
bed together. They're both equal in the diaper change and the bath time and the play time, and it's good to see that kind of parenting, because I don't know about you, but it very often you felt like a single mum in the family because the dads would be off doing their own thing. So it's
yeah.
and in
Well,
some ways they're the
and what?
in some ways they're learning. You've got kind of a total division. You've got some that have become very attentive and bringing up their children the way, they would like to have been brought up. And then you've got other kids who are just like apathy and the entitlement, or just no connection to anything. And it's so sad to see, because you went through the rape, the attempted suicide, the mental hospital, and then working for the airlines, where you see something else altogether, right? That's a total different story. And
Yeah.
throughout your career, you've seen so many different sides of humanity. And we can
Yes.
be awesome. We can be incredible when we choose to be. All the problems in the world come from us as humans. And it is a choice. whether we choose to be of substance or whether we choose to be of entitlement. And really, that is the choice we have in life, isn't it?
I agree. I agree. It's and I don't know what the answer is. I don't know whether the kids that are growing up now, if somebody gives them direction, they'll be better parents. I don't know.
I know.
I know.
We've got to do something. Yeah.
I've had long talks with my grandson, who is going to be 14 in a couple of weeks, and we've talked about this issue. And he says, well, I'm not going to do what so-and-so did when I have kids. And so I said, good. You know.
That means he's being aware.
So, yeah, he's aware. Yeah. And of course, my granddaughter is also aware because her parents are teachers. But hard to, as I said, I'm just bloody happy that I am not raising children right now.
Yes. Well, I'm kind of very, very immersed in my grandchildren. But the beauty of being a grandmom is that, you know, you can come in and be, you know, the sweet, cuddly, this and that, etc., and hand them back to the parents. There's some benefits to it, but it's a different relationship altogether, completely, because it isn't the same. You know, as my daughter said when she had her baby, Mom, how did you do it with 3? And I said, I don't know. I just did it because we just paid attention to what we needed to do.
I'm going to show you something. Here, okay. Let me just. I have to step over. Whoops, step over something here. I don't know if I can get at it. I got to go around this way. Just a minute. I want to show you something my daughter sent me that I opened at Christmas that speaks to what you're saying. This is what she sent framed. Can you read it?
No, move back a bit. Move back. Okay, it said, Dear Mom, I get it now. Thank you. Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's only when they become parents themselves.
Hold on. There's somebody at my gate. Hold on. Somebody's at my gate. Okay.
No, you know, I've just written my memoir as well. And I found, I found it very, very interesting when, you know, reading it back, kind of seeing a thread going through it that I wasn't aware of. What have you found in writing your memoir that was a thread going through? Yeah, that kind of surprised you.
Oh, very much surprised. One of the things that I realized is that my whole life I never have looked back and dealt with the traumas that I had. Yeah. So you've got 60 years of traumas that I kind of swept under the rug and said, oh, well, tomorrow's another day. I'll deal with it then.
Let's get on with life. Yep, that's what we did.
Yeah. So writing the memoir was very beneficial. I'm sorry, I'm out of breath. I just climbed a whole bunch of stairs. Was very beneficial for me in that it forced me to look at things and confront them, and things that I had never dealt with. Well, I had. It swept them under the rug.
Yeah.
But this is very, very, very cathartic.
Yes.
Very, really, really good. So, you know, when people say to me, did you enjoy writing, blah, 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 I say, yeah. And I said, you know, the best thing about writing this book was what it did for me personally. And I said, doesn't matter if anybody else likes it, it was good for me. Yeah. And, you know, so that was, that's what the thread was running through mine. And, I mean, I kind of let it all hang out in the book. So it's, you know, all the
unfiltered.
What's the word I want?
Unfiltered.
All the good stuff and not good stuff. So, yes. But that was good, and so that was very cathartic for me. And then the other thing was the other thing I found was in these responses I'm getting from people, like almost all of my reviews and stuff have been, that it was what I've done is inspirational. And they're not just talking about all the stuff I've done down here in Honduras. They're talking about how I came from here to here, and that's inspiring.
Yeah.
So,
inspiration begets invitation. So when you inspire someone, it invites them to look at their own life and their own choices and their own journey. And it invites them to be inspired by their own path as well. Because we're not taught to look back on our path. I mean, when writing, it was like, oh my God, I did what? But we've got to realize that things that we did in the knowledge that we had at the time, or in the culture that was there at the time. And maybe we didn't know it was wrong because it was just something that everybody did, and we kind of hadn't switched on to the fact that it was wrong yet. Until we know, until we're aware. And then it's, where is our choice now? So I think that beating oneself up for past decisions is, an oxymoron. Why bother? But
why bother?
Why bother? It's self-persecution is a waste of time. But looking at it and going, oh my God, what were you thinking? But at the same time, owning it and go, but what did you learn from it? What did you learn from it?
Yep, absolutely. And you found that when you were writing your book? Because you wrote your memoir, you say.
Yeah. There was I haven't dived into some stuff too deeply, and other things I have, because also I've done an awful lot of my own inner therapy to bring closure to certain things. But in that thread that I found all the way through, which was quite honestly sadness, a great deal of sadness, is just really, that is more to do with me as an empathetic person, of feeling the world. And I'm just really kind of quite sad at humanity and how cruel we are to each other. Yeah,
absolutely. I can see that, listening to you, that's kind of where you're coming from as well. It's and we can't fix it, unfortunately.
No, but this going back to responsibility is that, and I'm sure you've learned this on your life's journey, whatever pickle we get ourselves into, it is our responsibility to get ourselves out. Whatever injustice or hurt that we've committed on somebody, it's up to us to heal it. Everybody's always looking for something on the outside, right? An app or somebody else to fix it. But we are not taking ownership as human beings of our own choices, our own responsibility. We don't have to do it with persecution, or damning ourselves, but we can stand up and own our own mistakes, our own choices. We can apologize if we have hurt people unknowingly or knowingly, but taking on that responsibility is a huge growth, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. When you think about it, my generation, when we were going out, well, mom and dad are going to fix it. Mom and dad are going to get me out of this, or my best friend's going to get me out of this, or whatever. We didn't take responsibility. We just didn't. And so I hear what you're saying. That's a very interesting way of putting it.
Until we have to. As we grow up, we realize we have to take responsibility.
Until we have to. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I think, as I said in my book, and you asked me what I got out of the book, I think learning to take responsibility for you. And I don't just mean the things you've done. I mean, take responsibility for, it's your life, and you've got to live it the best way you can, and stop beating yourself up. It doesn't accomplish anything.
No.
And I did that for years,
Yes. But again, going back to that generational thing, we were taught, who do you think you are, putting yourself first? Who do you think you are, loving yourself? Are you conceited? And we weren't taught to love ourselves. It was always be the sacrificial lamb. Everybody else came first before you. And that was where the dysfunction was.
You're right. and now the swing has gone the other way.
The pendulum's gone too much the other way.
The kid can do, you're perfect. You know, you can do this. I will look after you. I'll do this for you. You know, not letting them take responsibility for their own mistakes. And I think that's the difference. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, you know, again, we can't always dictate what happens to us, but we can choose what we learn from it or who we become because of it. And that is our choice. And yes, very often we need help along the way. We need guidance along the way. Our generation didn't have it. This generation at their fingertips has trillions of podcasts, trillions of online programs, trillions of information at their fingertips that can help them, you know, navigate through. Yet we're seeing, I think, even more, like we're seeing suicides of people that we thought were extremely happy and had it all. And I think there's something missing, and that connection, I think, is that attachment to soul, God, universe, spirit, energy, whatever you wish to call it. I think that we're losing that connection with that energy source and, you know, that generator of love, love of self, love of life, love of universe, love of God, you know, is, I think is missing in a lot of people.
Well, I think part of it goes back to what we were saying. Nobody talks to each other anymore. I mean, the kids don't talk to each other. They're too busy on their iPads.
Yes.
And I think that they've got so many choices out there from being bombarded with all these different apps and whatever. How can they possibly sort it out?
Yeah.
You know, at least we were told, you do not do that.
Right.
And you knew, if I'm going to be a good girl, I won't do that. You know, it will upset my father or my mother, you know. But now they don't have those kinds of guidelines, you know.
No, we're more scared of upsetting them.
That's right.
Oh, well, the parent has become more upset for setting the children, which is, you know.
That's right.
Well, so what are you teaching them? No boundaries, no responsibility, no respect, no self-respect, certainly no love, right?
There's got to be a happy medium. And I think that's the problem. The pendulum was here, it swung over here, and it's got to go back to the middle.
To a nice, sensible swing.
I think that's, and this is on not children, but talking about the pendulum swinging back and forth. You know, I think that the pendulum has to swing back to the middle on relationships between men and women.
Yes.
I think it's gone to the point where it's ridiculous. A man cannot tell a woman she looks nice today. You know, I like your dress or whatever.
I know. It's gone too far.
You know, and I guess the thing that bothers me probably most about it, because I've got a son who's a teacher, I can remember my teachers giving me a hug when I was a little kid in grade school. He'd be he'd be arrested.
I know.
If he tried. And that's sad. That's just really, really sad. And people are taking offense because, well, he said he liked the way I look or whatever. Come on, guys, move back to the middle here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, whenever there is change, there is extremes. And so, you know, we're in the extremes of everything right now. We're in what I call hysteria. Yeah. And things need to kind of calm down and come back to sensibility.
Yeah. I agree.
So, you know, the importance of your book for the young is for them to see the journey that you took, that very, very often that you had to figure out on your own. Like, when you're growing up, mom and dad helped you, or then maybe husband helped you, this or that. But at some point you had to go, I have to help myself. And then it was, I now need to help others. All right. I need to help others. And it's that transition of your life going through that is an inspiration to other people who are maybe in the me, myself, and I mode. Or don't know how to navigate through life with, you know, who do I ask, or what am I responsible for? What am I here for? You know, we're all here to contribute. Every single one. There's no rent free here on earth. We're all here to contribute something, but we've got to discover what it is. What is that something that we're here to contribute?
Yep. Huh. stuff worth thinking about.
It is worth thinking about. So I love it when a book transcends age, right? Because age or sexes or religions or anything like that, I think a book is something that keeps on giving. And it's, you know, I encourage book clubs, like I encourage podcast clubs, for people to listen and then come forth with their own perspective. Share. Well, I heard this or I heard that, and then open up that discussion. What we're not doing today is opening up the discussion. We're passing judgments without looking at the other side of things and seeing the whole picture, because we're not conversing. And that goes, I think, for all age groups. So I think we all need to learn how to converse, allow somebody else to have a different opinion, see it from their point of view, and look at all of the opinions and get a bigger picture before you decide to pass judgment of what is right and wrong.
Yep, you're right. You're right. You know, I did a book signing this past summer for a seniors residence up at the town where my cottage is. And so here I'm sitting in a room with all these old women who were my age and older, and they all read the book, and they're sitting there with the book, and they're saying, well, what about this? And what about this? And we got into, but you're talking about discussion.
Yes.
This is something that older people will do.
Yes.
Whereas looking at, for example, one of my volunteers had read the book, and they said, oh, I really liked your book. You know, it was interesting.
Full stop.
Full stop.
Yeah.
I mean, hello.
Well, what did you like about it? What did you learn from it?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's the same with, you know, comments, even on social media. You know, it's a like or an emoji, but it's not content. You know, people are not actually writing words. And, you know, we're losing that art.
Using those stupid emojis, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot as guilty as an expert.
Yeah, you know, I do a lot of it because obviously social media, a lot to do with my business, but and sometimes it might just be a like if it's just something like that, but I take the time to kind of read and respond, even if it is just a couple of words, just to, you know, show that I've read and responded. And I think this is another thing that people aren't doing today, which we very much had instilled with us. Manage your time.
Yes, time management. Yeah, time management. Yeah.
We don't see that today.
How did you get into what you're doing now? I'm interested.
Nearly 11 years ago, I was at a crossroads in life, having lost everything that I had back to technology. I'd become homeless because of it. Nothing wrong with the technology, but the technology was stolen, and all the money went. And I was at a crossroads. I was actually in a depression, and I wrote an article, and somebody saw that article, saw my site and the programs that I had been doing before. And she asked me to join her network as a podcaster. I didn't even know what a podcast was at that time. And so I was with her for 13 months live, which was a great training ground, because so much can go wrong live. And then in 2013, I started my own network. And I didn't even know what I was doing there. Literally, it's like, I want to do it, navigate, learn how to do it as I go. So this June will be 10 years of my own network, 3,000 shows, over 3,000 shows. I've probably done about 2,800 of them. I do anything from 4 to 8 shows a week. Every other week I look after my grandson. So it's 4 that week and 8 the following week. And I've got to meet people from around the world who are making a difference in the lives of others because of their story, because of their journey. And I've learned so much about myself. It's been most fantastic therapy. Yeah.
I'll bet you have. Well, you're right. That would have been good therapy, going from the depths and rebuilding.
Exactly.
Good for you.
And that's just being, willing to have the conversation, willing to listen, willing to learn, willing not to beat yourself up when you realize, oh God, I shouldn't have done that. Instead of beating yourself up and persecuting, now you know better, you will do better. But you can't punish yourself for something you did in the past because you didn't know better then.
Right. Yeah, or something you haven't faced up to, and you're still beating yourself up.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
good either. But well, that's good. Well, I wish you much success in what you're doing.
Well,
And
right back at you. I mean,
I'm past that now. I'm sorry.
sorry, I lost you there a bit.
Okay.
You said you were a conductor now, which basically you've kind of written the music for other people to play. So
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
kind of sit back and enjoy the music, and this is your legacy.
Well,
Let other people,
well,
you can still come in now and again and go, out of tune.
well, well, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, one would think I was doing that. However, I'm into another book.
And what's this one?
Well, well, over the past, let's see, 17 years, we've had over 800 volunteers, young volunteers here, international volunteers.
Fabulous.
And they've got stories. I mean, when I was really involved, I knew a lot of these stories. And trust me, some of them I'm going to have to assign a pseudonym to, because they're not going to want their families to know that they did this.
Right.
But what I'm doing is writing a compilation of some of these stories into a book on the volunteers here. And we're going to use it as, and the stories will be good. There'll be inspirational stories. There'll be romance. There's going to be danger. There's going to be, as I said, stuff they shouldn't be doing. So a mixture. Excuse me. And it's going to be used as a fundraiser.
Good.
For a project that I'm working on with somebody else, which is a bookmobile, mobile book library to go around town. So it'll help doing that, So that's the project I'm working on. So I will do the preface and the epilogue and probably design the cover or whatever. But everybody's going to participate in it. But that's the project that I'm working on now.
Wonderful.
So
you're going to come back when that book is ready. You've got to come back and share, because I'd love to hear all about that book. I think it's a wonderful idea.
Okay.
I've got a book coming up this year, the Forgotten Children series, which is a compilation of people who are, if we don't take care of our children at the root, this is where we have the cause later. So is what can we do to turn the tide and go back to paying attention to our children, right down from the family dynamics to learning to play, learning to have the respect and value, learning to respect and value our children. So yes.
Now, are these going to be true stories? Is this true? Are these true stories, or is it fiction?
These will all be contributing chapters from people who are already working in organizations around children.
Okay.
And it's their stories, and I've interviewed them, and some of the stories that they've told me are just so heart and gut wrenching. And we have to change things. We cannot carry on the way we are. We're going to self-destruct at this rate. And I do believe that all the dysfunction we see as an adult goes back to childhood. And I think we need to go back to the childhood and how we raise our children, how we educate our children,
what we talked about,
everything about it. So
what we talked about
yeah. So compilation books like that are just wonderful. But yes, and doing it for a fundraiser too. So you're right on board there. But please come back when you have that book done, because I'd very much like to hear some of the stories there. And again, it's why do people come and volunteer? My daughter has done the same. She went to Africa to look after the elephants. She paid to go. To have the experience. She's done other things. My other daughter went to Mexico and built houses, and they paid to do this. They weren't paid to do it. They did it because they really wanted to contribute, right? So
most volunteers are on their own ticket,
Yeah, exactly.
Most volunteers are on their own ticket.
Yeah, and it's what's the driving force behind it, which I think is always really important, because they're the inspiration for other people on contribution. We just got to remember we're all here to contribute something of value, right? And if we could learn that it's not about me, myself, and I, and it's about the we, myself as an instrument coming to the orchestra and being able to play the music that inspires others collectively, harmoniously. So back to that self-responsibility again, which starts also with self-love, going in.
exactly.
Yeah, so very much like to hear about that book for sure. So when you've
Okay,
got that,
well,
let me know.
we'll be done next summer sometime.
Wonderful. So now, how do people get hold of your book, and also how do people reach you?
Okay, they can reach me on Facebook, on Messenger, on Anne Hamilton Fowler. Just, do
I'm
it
going
and
to
send me
spell
a
it for
message.
people, for those that are just listening.
Okay,
A-N-N-E, Hamilton, Hamilton, Fowler, Fowler. That's on Facebook.
correct.
And
Correct.
you've also got
That's on
the
Facebook.
website.
My website is http slash no dot slash which way slash dots and dot honduranhope.net.
Yes.
I think if you just do Anne Fowler Honduras, it comes up.
Wonderful.
And my website, that's the one that we just discussed. My email is Anne with an E, Anne.Fowler at ExploreNet, and I'll spell ExploreNet because it's difficult. It's XPLORNET.ca.
.ca, not .com, folks. So yes, so people can reach out to you if they're interested in volunteering, or if they want to book you for your book, or because you are 6 months of the year in Toronto, right? So in North America.
My cottage in Halliburton, which is north of Toronto, but I mean, I can always be reached by any of those means. And what else did you ask me? Where to get the book? It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon all over, so it's just self-published on Amazon, and just clue in.
And yeah, Anne Hamilton Fowler, and I've worn many hats. Right?
And it'll come up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's I love the title. I love the title, because I actually do prefer that a great deal about the many hats we wear in life. So,
well, how I got that title is I'm known as the Hat Lady. Like people, when they see me without a hat, I had somebody say to me once, "Oh, she's got hair." I'm always wearing a hat. I've always worn hats, and I write about that in the book. But a friend of mine, I don't know where we were, and we were in Africa. I was in Africa, and we're sitting there, and she said, "I know what you're going to call your book." And I said, "What?" She said, "I've worn many hats." I said, "That's it.
That's it.
That's the name."
When it's right, it's right.
Yep,
yes, exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
And you have worn many hats.
The original title. Oh, I have. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely more than we just talked about today. But it's.
You said the original title was going to be? You said the original
title was going to be. The original title was a picture of a little angel, and half of her was an angel and half of her was a devil. And the title of the book was "She Did What?" Which in many ways, when you read the book, I've had people say that's what you should have called it. But anyhow.
I was going to write my book from my angel's perspective and go, "Oh boy," trying to get her back on track, like it's just impossible. But it ended up writing itself, which, I just sat down for 3 weeks and just let it write. Without dictating how it wrote or anything else.
Let me know when it's out there. Let me know when it's out there. I'd like to read it. The story.
It's in editing phase right now. When I have time to finish it, so we're busy running all of this, but I will get it out.
Yeah, let me know when it's done. Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for coming here. And again, just going to remind people of the site. Sorry?
You're on the West Coast. Whereabouts?
I'm actually on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada. So just a ferry away from Vancouver.
So you're in Canada?
Oh, I'm in Canada, yes.
Yeah, yes. Okay.
I've been here 42 and a half years. So wow. More Canadian now than anything else, yes.
I guess so, yeah. Well, good. Well, good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you.
I will let you know when that other book is done, and you let me know when yours is done.
I will do, most certainly. And, you know, folks, we learn so much by somebody else's journey. We don't realize how much of ourselves is in other people's story, or how much it sparks something inside of you that
Mhm.
you didn't know was your story. So please take the time to read. Take the time to listen, take the time to share and have a conversation. If you want to know what the answers are to life, learn to listen, learn, and apply, because nothing is going to happen for you until you make it happen for you. So until next time, folks, thanks very much, Anne. Bye for now.
So true. Bye now.
We hope that you enjoyed the show. Find all of our shows on selfdiscoverymedia.com under podcasts or selfdiscoverymedia/shows. And for all our current shows, go to What's New. We are supported by you, the audience. You'll see a nice big shiny blue button for one-time donations, or follow us on Patreon and you will be able to support us there. We enjoy bringing you such wisdom, and the next show will be up in just a moment.